putting this record together, I'll tell you what this is all about. This compilation records, I've had more emails through the last few years, and people want this song and they want that song. And when we were doing dance music in the 80s, we really didn't put them to CD, we put them to vinyl. So I decided that I would get everything that I could that I loved and I was proud of from 1979 when I first started, and that I would put it on a compilation record. And then I could kind of talk about it and let you know where I was and what was happening at the time. And then you can kind of go and see the different songs that you loved, and you can look through them. You can see part of them or all of them, however you want it. I'm hoping that you really enjoy this, that I'll get to share with you. It's my growth and development and my high points and my low points, and so that's what I wanted to show in this video. Not the low points so much. I probably won't be filming the low points. You get the good stuff. It's amazing to watch time go by, because this started in 1979 and now it's over 20. This is over 20 years. People always ask me, how did I get started? How did I get started? So I just thought I'd do as small a version as I can, because we don't have 9 hours on this video. So anyway, how I got started was I had moved to New York City and I wanted to be a Broadway singer. And so I was working at a gay piano bar on West 46th Street. But a group of men from Germany came up with a French singer that wanted to use my piano. Actually, that's the whole reason they came in the bar. And so I let the guy sit in, and when I got up to let the guy sit in, the producer that was with him said to me, "You know, my name is Carl Schmitz, and I think you do very good in Germany." And I'm thinking, what? So they decided they wanted to take me over to Germany, and they were going to make a White Donna Summer out of me. Well, what was so funny is I hadn't really even been to discotheques, because I was into the Broadway and I wanted to do all that stuff. So they take me over, they fly me first class on Lufthansa, and they took me into the studio and we did a demo, and about 8 weeks later I had the contract, and they flew me over to Germany, and I recorded my first album in Berlin, which was very, very exciting. So I have to thank Carl Schmitz and Joachim Heider, who was my first producer. And they made me write. I didn't even know to write. They told me I had to write the album, and I'm thinking, I don't know how to write. And the German said, "You will write." And when Germans tell you to write, you write. So I went home, and I wrote with a fantastic writer named David Zippel, who now is, he just finished a Broadway play with Andrew Lloyd Webber. He just wrote The Woman in White with him. He had a Tony Award for City of Angels. He wrote Hercules. He did music for Disney, Swan Princess. He's very, very talented. And luckily, I happened to run into him in New York City, and he was my roommate in the summer from Harvard. Because, see, he was a nice Jewish boy from Easton, Pennsylvania. And his parents told him that if he wanted to be a lyricist, it was okay as long as he got a law degree and became a lawyer first from Harvard. And so he did, and never practiced law. And so he was the lyricist on this album, along with, I used a couple records from a man named Lou Shear and Rhoda Roberts, who have also had Chaka Khan and all kinds of people record their music. So I was really fortunate on my first album. And so a lot of this stuff is going to come off of my This Is Hot album, which was recorded in 1979. The disco world in 1979, when my record came out, This Is Hot, it started like taking off, and I was starting to travel, and by then what had happened was EMI Germany is the first people that signed me. And then I think it was about June or something, I got signed to EMI America, in which case I had to come to the States and then start promoting my record in September. So I was out on the road, and at that time what they would do is they would send you with a promotion man. And what was really interesting is I ended up with a very, very large gay following, and it ended up being perfect for me, because even when I moved to New York, when I got my first job, it was for some reason in a gay piano bar, and so I always had a gay following. So then when the disco music came out and I was sent to Germany, my promo man there was gay. When I got sent to EMI America in Los Angeles, they gave me this wonderful promotion man named Joey Palmentieri, and he started booking me in gay clubs. And I remember one of the first clubs I played was called the Parrot in Los Angeles. And how they did it was they didn't really have stages because disco was just taking off like that. So what they did was there was a pool table. And what they had was they put plywood over the pool table, and then I would do my show on top of the pool table, and I had to like work around the lamp. It would hang down like going like that on either side of the lamp. So that's how it started. So I'm traveling, and then they started promoting me, and I'd be in this city, and I would do radio all the time, and performances with the Kiss radio stations and the Power stations. So I'm in Miami. Now, this is like 2 months I've been touring. Some of them, gay clubs in the LA area from Joey Palminteri, and then he would be on the road sometimes. And then I started going East Coast, doing New York, Philadelphia. I was in Miami. And all of a sudden, I call back to the radio record company, and I go, oh, hi, can I talk to Joey Palminteri? And they go, oh, he's not here anymore. I said, oh, well, just give me anyone in the disco department. And they said, there is no disco department. And that what had happened is the headlines came out that morning, disco dies. And this is November of 1979. So they left me on the road. I'm in Miami, and all the money was pulled from my tour, and there I am sitting in Miami. And I don't even know, I have to buy my own ticket to get home. I'm thinking, what happened? So my sister had gotten married, and her mother-in-law lived in Palm Beach, which was like an hour and a half from Miami. So I thought, well, so I called her mother-in-law, and I said, Ida, can I stay with you? And she didn't really even know me. I met her at the wedding. She goes, yeah, come on. So I go up there, and I don't even know what I'm going to do because I'm trying to pull my life together now. I don't know what I'm going to do with the disco supposedly dead. So I'm sitting there, and the next day I get a call from an agent that says, listen, there's this guy that really likes your music, and he's having a birthday party in Ecuador, in Guayaquil. Would you like to go to Ecuador? And I'm thinking, well, why not? So I got my passport, and I got on a plane, and the next, like 2 days later, I'm sitting in Guayaquil, Ecuador. But on the way down, I meet this woman and her boyfriend, and she happens to work at a television station. So what ends up happening is I end up going to Ecuador for the weekend to do this man's birthday party. But during that weekend, they had a coup, and they closed the nightclub down because the government, so they had to keep me another week in order to get the club open again to do his big birthday party. So they said, can you stay for the week? I said, yeah, whatever. So I stayed for the week, and during that week, I got my record released in South America on EMI South America. I ended up doing a television program, which they absolutely loved me because my Spanish was, I spoke broken Spanish. And so what happened was I became like the American Charo down there, and this man that had a show loved having me on. So they had me on every week, and they took me to Quito then. Quito was the main area. So I did that guy's birthday party. I ended up going to Quito. I'm on the show every week, and I ended up with my own Christmas special down there in Ecuador. So I ended up staying a month down there. I was in Estrella magazine, which was like their star magazine down there. And I had a big success down in South America accidentally. And then by the time I got back, disco wasn't quite as dead. And I started working. Then Joey kept booking me, and then I started really building in the gay clubs and in the straight clubs. I started building the following as a performer rather than just a singer. So that's my Ecuadorian story. one of the things we're going to set you up now is when I was in Ecuador, they did had me do excerpts from my album, and so when I was reviewing all the television performance and stuff, I saw this one that I'm going to play you called Mr. Sunshine, which I wrote with David. And what was so amazing about that is, as I was showing Eric, who is my wonderful videographer here, he was asking me about the song, and I said, well, he said, what are the strings? I said, well, tell you the truth, the strings are live. We had a 65-piece orchestra. When we did disco years ago, before the age of the synthesizers came in, we hired the whole orchestra. So I had the Berlin Symphony House Orchestra on my record. But what was interesting is there were two studios in Berlin. We had Hansa Studios 1 and Hansa Studios 2, and the second studio was on the 5th floor of a high-rise, and it was overlooking, they had picture windows overlooking the Berlin Wall. And so we could see into East Berlin. So I walk in like 8 o'clock, no, it was 10 o'clock, because in Germany you record 10 to 7, that's it. 6 days a week, you have Sunday off, that's it. Nobody's allowed in the studios after 7. You go out and eat, it's really fun. So anyway, we were standing, so there we were overlooking the Berlin Wall, and you could see into East Berlin, you could see all the guards going and the dull colors, and here we were, I'm looking this way, and I can see a 65-piece orchestra in the free world. And I would look over there, and I could see the communist. It was very, very weird. It was weird, and it was sad, and I had wished that wall would come down, and I was really happy when the wall came down. But it was very, very eye-opening. And then I got to go over to East Berlin. I went and visited East Berlin before I left Germany. They would let you through. It was real interesting. And when I got over there, like we were, there's neon signs, and there's real happy and bright colors in West Berlin, and you get over to East Berlin, and there wasn't any kind of sign anywhere. You weren't allowed to advertise. And in the storefront windows, you only saw gray, navy blue, and a khaki green. That was it. They had no other colors. And the thing that really got me was we were standing outside the opera house, and people were waiting to get in, and it was silent. Nobody was speaking. And here on the streets of East Berlin, it was very, very, it changed my life. It made me so appreciative of being in the free world.
Sunshine.
you play. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I hope the music never ends. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I wanna hear it again and again and again. Alright. Yeah. Tonight you make me feel so free. I wanna paint the skies. You're begging me to sing my song before my music dies. My head is turning circles, and I feel so swept away. 'Cause there's magic in the music, so much magic in the music that you play. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I hope the music never ends. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I wanna hear it again and again and again. Alright. Yeah. Play it again. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I hope the music never ends. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I wanna hear it again and again and again. Alright. Oh, hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I hope the music never ends. Hey, Mr. Magic, play the music. I wanna hear it again and again and again. Mr. Magic, won't you play your music for me, honey? Tonight you're taking me higher. I wanna paint the sky. I wanna fly the sky. I wanna feel so high. Tonight I'm so free. Oh, Mr. Magic. Oh, I'm gonna go like you. I'm gonna go like you. Oh, my head is turning circles all around. Hey, Mr. Magic. Oh, Mr. Magic, won't you play it for me? So now I'm going along and we release another record called Hey, Mr. Magic, but it really wasn't being pushed. Like, they really didn't have a disco department anymore, so they decided that they would try. I met this other producer and we started to try this country thing. Well, then Sheena Easton came out, and Sheena was very similar to me in my voice. So after a couple years with EMI, let's see, this must have been 80, so it was almost 2 years later. What ended up happening was I got dropped from the label EMI America, and Sheena had already had a hit with 9 to 5 in England. And so they said I was too similar and my voice was too similar, and they couldn't have both of us on the label. So I was a little heartbroken, but I got married. And I thought, that's it. I'm done with this business. I'm going to be a nice housewife. And I moved to Cross River, New York, which is about 45 minutes from the city. And I started working back in the city. And at the time, I used to clean horse stalls in the morning. We lived on a 9.5 acre estate. And we had horses, and I used to like mow the lawn. I was out there thinking, okay, I'm going to be Miss Farmer out here outside of New York City, and I'll run into the city. I started singing again in the city. And so my husband, I had gotten married at the time. My husband gets a job offer from an oil company down in Dallas, Texas. So we end up moving down there. And at that time, now I'm pregnant. So I think, great, I'm a mom. I got a job as a piano bar player, and I thought I'd worked for like 2.5 years in all the discos, and I had like a little following, but whatever. So I thought I was going to stop for my life. And then I get a call, in Dallas, they asked me to come in and do a show. They need a disco show in one of the clubs in Dallas. So when I did that, I said, okay, I'll do it. My husband saw me perform, and he said, what are you doing as a housewife? You are supposed to be out there. I said, oh, no, I don't want to do this again. Well, he made me. And we raised money to start our own record label, which was Commander Records. And my brother wrote a song called I Don't Want to Talk About It. And we produced that song. Well, we hired a producer to do it because I didn't want to do it. And we hired him for one day. And the guy, what I ended up with, another version of Billie Jean. It sounded just like Billie Jean. So my husband says, his name is Frank Mandaro. I have to thank him. My husband says to me, you get in there and produce that record. I said, I don't know how to produce a record. He goes, yes, you do it. So I said, okay. So I go in there really not knowing what I'm doing, and I produce my first record along with his help, because he had really good ears even though he wasn't a musician. And so we recorded that first one, and how we raised the money is, even my doctor, I had just had my baby, the doctor that delivered my baby gave me money for the record, and my voice teacher from New York, who was amazing, Joan Coben, she gave us money. And we met this wonderful record company, and they had like a little record store called Oaklawn Records, and they also had a little label they were starting, and it was Ray Cooper and David Hilzendagger, and they invested, and so they became our partners. So we really opened up Commander Records with them, and I produced my first record, and we put it out thinking it was going to do okay in Texas. We had no clue that it was going to go nationwide and end up being number 13. So what ended up happening is the record came out, people went crazy over it, it just went all through the thing, and the next thing I know, we were shipping records. We shipped 30,000 records just out of our little garage on the very first record, and then it just kept going. Another company took it. So that's how I Don't Want to Talk About It came about, and my brother James Lee Stanley did a beautiful job writing that song. And that's how I got back in the business, because I really thought that was it for me. I'm going to move on to Canadian TV. That was exciting. There's a big performance that happens in Montreal every year. It's called Salon des Jeunesses, and it's 20,000 people in this huge area where it's for the teenagers, and they bring in major acts. And so I got called to go up to Montreal, which I had never done before. So I go up to Montreal and I meet this woman, because I talk a lot. I know you don't notice that. But I meet this woman who happens to be with a television station, and she gets me an interview on the Michel Jasmin show in Montreal. And it turned out to be a fantastic connection. I did Salon des Jeunesses. I did that television show. They had me 3 or 4 times. They kept bringing me up because I just loved Canada. I love Montreal. So I'm going to show you an excerpt. But they did, I Don't Want to Talk About It was out then. And they did it live. You weren't allowed to do TV with a backtrack. You had to do it live with musicians. So this is a totally different version you're going to hear. It was supposed to be disco, but it came out different. But I liked it. And that was on the Michel Jasmin show.
Merci, messieurs. Cette demoiselle dont on parlait en début d'émission, Pamela, elle nous vient du Texas, sa première visite ici. Elle a eu en 1979 un premier succès international. Elle en a un autre actuellement qui est très bien placé et vraiment un succès international un peu partout à travers le monde. I Don't Want to Talk About It. Elle est à Montréal pour le Salon de la Jeunesse, entre autres, et on la verra à Pop Express samedi présenter son prochain succès. Voici Pamala Stanley.
And then we had to drive 2 hours. This was wild. In a blizzard in January, up to this, in the mountains somewhere to Channel 2, called Pop Express that was out back then. It was like our dance fever. And I want to tell you, they drive fast. And I was in the back seat praying my whole way to get up there. And in a blizzard, we drove up to do this television show. And I want you to check out the hair on this. I loved it. My hair was ridiculous. I loved it. They had it like all wild. And that's what I loved about all these different videos. I like going through and seeing all the different hairdos that each different show gives you, that they decide how you should look. So that is my Canadian story. I loved being in Canada.
Alors avant de vous présenter la dernière chanson de l'émission aujourd'hui, eh bien j'aimerais vous dire que le salon de la jeunesse a commencé hier, mais ça se poursuit jusqu'à la fin de semaine prochaine. Il y a des spectacles de tout genre pour vous les jeunes et pour ceux qui ont le cœur jeune. Tout le monde est invité, alors allez-y en grand nombre. Ce soir, au Vélodrome, il y a notre artiste Pamala Stanley qui va faire partie de la distribution et puis elle a très hâte de nous chanter son récent 45 tours. On va l'écouter, ça s'appelle Coming Out of Hiding. Voici Pamela Stanley. Elle arrive directement de Dallas, Texas. Elle est venue faire le salon de la jeunesse où elle sera en spectacle ce soir même avec une pléiade d'artistes au Vélodrome de Montréal, près du stade olympique. Alors si vous voulez la voir, vous allez avoir un avant-goût de ce qu'elle va nous chanter, un succès monstre. Il s'agit de Pamala Stanley, I Don't Wanna Talk About It.
My brother sent me another song. I called him and I said, James, I need a really great song, like an anthem, a really great song. So about 8 weeks later, I get this song called Coming Out of Hiding. And I heard it. I went, oh my God, this is fantastic. So we went back in the studio, and my husband and I and the Ray and David, we produced this next one called Coming Out of Hiding. And by that time, TSR Records had gotten interested in me, and they had already helped me distribute the other one. And he wanted this record this time. And he even offered to do a video and stuff if I went with him. So we started, and I did Coming Out of Hiding. Came out fantastic. We did a video on it, and that was in 1984. And just then MTV had started up, and so we were able to get it on MTV, Showtime, music videos. It's been all over the world. Coming Out of Hiding ended up being number 4 for the entire year of 1984. And so that was a really great feather in my cap. And from then on, I just traveled and traveled. And I haven't stopped since. It just took off, and I've been everywhere. Not everywhere in the world, but a lot of places. Now, this was a really exciting time for me because, number one, remember, I thought I was going to be like this housewife, and my husband pushes me out there, and then I think I'm just going to be like a little Texas singer, and then all of a sudden it's nationwide and worldwide, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I really did enjoy it, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much, because I never really took it seriously that it was it in my life. It was always the enhancement. It was a beautiful thing to have along with my lovely child and my marriage. And so it was really fun. So here's what happened. I'm sitting there in Dallas, and all of a sudden the record label, TSR, his name is Tom Hayden, he called and said, I think we should do a music video. And I said, really? He said, yeah. So I started talking to companies in Dallas since we lived there, and we met this fantastic guy, which we're going to have to find his name. I can't remember it, who did this video. Ken. His name was Ken. We sat down and came up with the concept. And so it was thrilling. When you're doing a music video, first you sit down, you discuss the story you want to do. And then they draw a storyboard. And I actually have everything. They draw out each frame of what they want you to do. And you follow this storyboard. And so what happened was, for 4 minutes, the song was 4 minutes long. We filmed 3 days continuously for 4 minutes. And we filmed all night, all day, because some were night shots, some were day shots. We had to, you stay in the trailer, and you have all the extras and the makeup artists and the lights. It was so exciting. We used Marilyn Monroe's. If you'll see, when you see the video, you'll see the very last shot is Marilyn Monroe's, is me going in a limo. Not a limo, I'm sorry, an old-fashioned car, and it was Marilyn Monroe's, the last car she owned. So that was thrilling. Before she died, that was her car. And that was in there. We were lucky enough to get that. And just to go on location, you would be filming here one time, filming there one time, and everything has to be taken, broken down, and there is truly a lot of time waiting. You're waiting and waiting. Changing outfits. You're very pampered. Don't let anybody tell you. I got sick as a dog afterwards because it was all night. It was raining one night, and we needed the rain, and so we had to film in the rain. But it's very exciting. I loved it. I'll never forget that. So here it is.
Standing in the shadows.
ended up doing, I went with Atlantic. And Atlantic, we did If Looks Could Kill with Atlantic. We produced it with two producers, Mark Liggett and Chris Barbosa. But for some reason, they didn't like that version. So my husband and I went back in the studio and we re-recorded it. And I reproduced it with him again. And for some reason, that one took off. So there's two versions of that one. But the one you're going to hear that I recorded, you'll hear the one that we did, because that's the one. I don't even know where the other one is. I have some in my garage if you want one. Now, as far as If Looks Could Kill goes, when Coming Out of Hiding was out, I did get called to go on Dance Fever. Dance Fever was the really big thing at that time. But what happened was I was in Europe and I could not get away. I was traveling. So I never got to do Coming Out of Hiding live on that particular TV show. But what ended up happening is the Dance Fever, that was thrilling. Adrian's Med was now, because Danny Deterio had it before, I think before the 80s. And then Adrian's Med took it over. So I went to LA and I recorded, we did If Looks Could Kill on the TV show, and that was too fun. That was actually my first national television show, was If Looks Could Kill.
Our performing star this week used the power of the pen to thrust herself into the forefront of today's music scene. She accomplished this by writing songs that have been recorded by many outstanding vocalists. But now, her own career as a singer is truly blossoming. Here to sing If Looks Could Kill, Pamala Stanley.
In 1982, when I Don't Want to Talk About It came out, I was called and asked if I would open for Tina Turner at the Summit in Houston. And the Summit was like, like a big Coliseum type thing. So I said, oh my gosh, yes. So I was so thrilled to go and open for her. And I was pretty new. That was the Commander Records. My husband and I had just done that label. And so we went, and it was jammed. And I'm going to play the video for you here. We have a video of that particular concert. But I only got to do like 3 songs before her. And it was an absolute thrill. And what I loved about it is, you forget when you're looking through the videos, and I just been looking through all my past, and I didn't even know there's like dancers, and we have fan dancers, which for people that don't understand who fan dancers are, it's not the ones where you're naked and behind a feather, a feather fan. It's this wonderful way that it used to be the gays in the discos back in the 80s, I guess late 70s, but I think it was more 80s. They would take fans, regular fans, like about this big, and then they would take the material off and take the little wooden, what am I thinking? What's that called? Just the fan part. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, like the skeleton. And they would put beautiful like silver or gold material over it, and then they would put a new kind of material across the front of it, and then they would take out the stick and they would put a kind of like a leather strap in there so that the fan would move, and you learned to dance with the fans. And it wasn't easy at all. I mean, I remember we ate buckets of chicken, and I had a bunch of gay guys at this place where we went over to somebody's house in the backyard, and we worked those fans and worked those fans and worked those fans. And I loved it so much that it actually became my signature, was me and fans. And you will see in the video, and you'll see in all my shows that I always work the fans, and even to this day, I work fans. Always. Love my fans. Love my fans. So anyway, you'll see that on the video.
We'd like to present to you one of the finest entertainers in show business. She has a hot release that's climbing the charts. She's going to be with us tonight. We want you to put your hands together for the incredible, brought to you by the Officers Club, Ms. Pamala Stanley.
Stanley and like to say hello tonight. I think y'all remember this next song, and I love to do it, and I loved working and performing it, and so I'd like to do it for you right now. So here we go with This Is Hot. This is hot. Yeah. I said it's hot. Yeah. Heaven waits before your eyes. Right here with me, I tell you lies. It's hot. The gypsy dancer in my soul is gone for good, like a story told. And it's hot. And so my love, as you will see, your lucky day was meeting me. This is hot. And don't you forget it, this is hot. Oh, you never regret it, this is hot. 'Cause baby, I'm the one to set you free. This is hot. And don't you forget it, this is hot. Oh, you never regret it, this is hot. 'Cause baby, hold the sea. This is hot. I've heard of all your fancy claims, exciting and romantic wings, and it's hot. And now we're standing face to face. I feel the charm of your embrace. I said it's hot. It's hot. And so my love, before you try to stay with me, here's my reply. This is hot. And don't you forget it, this is hot. Oh, you'll never regret it, this is hot. 'Cause baby, I'm the one to set you free. I said it's hot. Don't you forget it, this is hot. Yeah, you'll never regret it, this is hot. 'Cause baby, hold the key. This is hot. Everybody get your hands together. I'm losing my top here. We're gonna start celebrating early. Now when I say this is hot, you say hot after me, okay? You got it up there? Here we go. This is hot. You say hot. You say hot. 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 This is hot. Thank you so much. Now, what do you think of this? Thank you very much. Can I have my wonderful dancers and the fan dancers way over there helping me out too? Thank you. I lost my mic stand. Now don't go anywhere because I gotta put myself together here. So I'll tell you about what happened. Yeah, Norfolk, Virginia. Nobody could be from Norfolk, Virginia. I grew up in Norfolk, Virginia myself. Wait a minute now, this is a family show. I heard about it. We go, let's get this together here. What do you think, I should nod it? This next song, I'm so excited because I took a couple years off. You care if I talk like this? Okay, because I was afraid because it was so big that you might not hear me, but I was a cheerleader in high school and I can yell louder than any one of you. So anyway, this next song, I took a couple years off and I've come back with a brand new song called I Don't Want to Talk About It. And that's the way I felt. And it's on a new Texas label. They said it couldn't be done. They said it couldn't be done. They said it couldn't be done. But here we go anyway with a Texas dance hit, we hope. and we think so because we're having great reviews on it. So hit it, Maestro, with I Don't Want to Talk About It. Last Thank you. I love you. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. My dancers, thank you very much. Thank you.
And then the next thing I did on Dance Fever was Got the Fever, which was a song that my brother and I wrote and produced, and it came out in 1989. So I guess I guess Dance Fever was still going then in 1989, because that's when it came out. And I did that one. So that's the Dance Fever thing. We had a lot of fun. I met great people on there. It was wonderful. Adrian Zemed is so cute in person. He really is cute.
Our performing star this week first made a name for herself as a songwriter. In the last couple of years, she's come on strong as a recording star herself. Right now, she's going to sing Got the Fever. Here's Pamala Stanley.
Love is like an ocean, never know which way to go. Changing like the weather, wild and wicked, and I know I was caught up in that kind of a storm. I was spinning round and going nowhere till I found you. Now I'm leaving, moving to a different town. Oh, I got the fever, running to cool me down. Oh, yeah. Watching how they rise and fall, I got the latest news. Keep up with the numbers, oh, you gotta keep up with your dues. I was caught up on that merry-go-round, a painted pony going nowhere till I found you. Now I'm a believer, moving to a different town. Got the fever, oh, I got the fever, now you're gonna cool me down. I got the fever, and I just got to say, I will always love you. Ooh, I'm so in love with you. Oh, and I'm not afraid to show it to the world. I do. You got a room with a view of my heart. Summer morning, never be apart. Now I'm a believer, moving to a different town. Got the fever, oh, I got the fever. Now you're gonna cool me down. Yeah, yeah. Now I'm a believer, moving to a different town. The fever, oh, I got the fever.
Thank you, Pamala Stanley.
At the time, I would meet DJ after DJ and club owner after club owner. And the one thing you have to know about the disco era, from about I really got back into it. I was gone for 2 years. So I left in like the end of 1980, maybe a year and a half, 2 years I was gone. When the disco era in the 80s, it became extremely glamorous. And I tell you, it was like old Hollywood. It was limousines, first class thing, champagne everywhere. Everybody was it was such a glamorous time. I mean, I remember raising my son. By then my son was born in 1982. So I started right after Frankie was born. And I mean, we would be riding to the airport and he would be watching Sesame Street on the TV in the limo and stuff. He'd travel with me. And so it was a beautiful, beautiful time, and so much money was involved in the disco era at that time. And then all of a sudden in was really around 85. We didn't know what had hit, but all of a sudden people started dying. And it was, where I was very involved in the community, and all of a sudden, like, this club owner would die, or that DJ would die, and then all of a sudden we found out that it was the AIDS virus, and there were HIV going around, and it was so frightening, but nobody knew at that time how you got it, what it was about, where it was from. So what had ended up happening was I was working, and probably 40% of my business within months, the gay community just shut down, and nobody knew what was going on. So it was a really scary time all of a sudden. And that was, I guess, I'd say 86 to 87 was when everything pretty much changed and nobody knew what was going on. And I even pulled back from traveling as much. I wasn't having as much work. And so it was very interesting. After the scare was happening and we all found out what was going on, and I started doing so many benefits. I've probably done 100 benefits. So thank God that they've done enough research and things have happened. But it was a very, very strange time, and it really did kill the glamour that was happening in the disco era at that time, and that was sad. And I miss that part. But you must move on. When the gay community gets behind you, they love you forever. And what was really wonderful about that is if I wasn't on the record labels and stuff, sometimes I wouldn't get booked in a lot of the discos, but always the gay community would call me up. I've been MC to gay prides. I've done so many of those around the country. And I got called in the early 90s to do these gay cruises. And I didn't even know that there were cruise companies, gay cruise companies that would go ahead and charter out a ship for a week. There's a little clip here that I wanted to share with you that on the cruises, I loved it. I did a Bette Midler song, Under the Boardwalk, and I grabbed these guys, and I just wanted to share with you how fantastic these audiences are. So this is like a little excerpt from when I grabbed these guys and brought them up on stage, and what troopers they were. And I love to do live performance, and I like to show you little snippets of live performances through, because you can be in the studio and it's really great, but the magic happens with the audience. So I hope you enjoyed this clip.
It's 10:15. It's 10:15. Wait a minute. What happens at 10:15? We're going to hear a bell any minute. 10:15. Everyone should be on board. Are you on board? Just checking. Okay. This is my favorite part, because see, I love Bette Midler. Does everybody love Bette Midler? I love her, and I always like to do one of her songs on the show, but this particular song is very important because I need some bordettes. So I need volunteers, 6 of you. You know what happens to volunteer here? I know you get selected. What's your name, sir? Were you bachelor number 2? Who was bachelor number 2?
The guy, this one right here.
Well, I've got spots on me, I can't see. But he looks like a good board dad.
Yeah.
We need 6. Look, you're going, yeah, get up here. All of you, this whole group. Come on. He's going, yeah. Now this is very important. You see, guys, all these songs require backups, and I do need you to sing Under the Boardwalk. Well, come on, don't be afraid, come on. You with the hair. Definitely him. Now this is very important. You have to sing Under the Boardwalk. But the most important thing is your head choreographer. Now, the thing here, you stand there, and you guys watch him and make it good, honey. You got to do movements. I want girls. Okay, you got it? Lots of movement. Try and keep it together. So here we go. Under the Boardwalk with Bette Midler. Ready, girls? Back up. Now just kidding. Oh, the sun beats down. There's a tower on the roof. Go ahead, like this. And your shoes feel so hot. That's it. Tired people by the roof. Down by the sea.
What was really exciting in the disco era is you get to meet a lot of the acts, and some of the wonderful people that I worked with and were friends with are Sylvester, who we lost. Vicky Sue Robinson, we lost her too. She just died a few years ago. Wonderful, wonderful girl. I've worked with Linda Clifford and Jessica Williams and Cissy Houston, Gloria Gaynor. Oh gosh, there's so many of them. And Paul Parker. Paul Parker there wasn't a lot of male disco out, and Paul and Sylvester were one of them, and Paul was wonderful. And for some reason, we just connected. And they loved booking Paul and I together. So what would happen is if there was any way that if he was doing a show and I was in the city, then they would get us together for a song on stage, and they would book us in the same city just so we would do a concert together. So on this next thing, this was the San Francisco, this was the Design Center, and they always had a huge, I mean thousands and thousands of people in the Design Center of San Francisco. And so I was booked there. And what was so great is I have a picture on my website of Sylvester, myself, and Paul Parker, but Paul actually performed with me. And so I'm going to show you a little excerpt here where Paul walks out on stage with me, and you'll see us together. And Paul and I had 2 records out. We did Stranger in a Strange Land, and we did Running Around in Circles that was also on TSR Records. And I believe that might be that's part of this CD. That's right. We're going to do a little bit of that. So you'll hear it, and then you'll see just Paul and I doing I Don't Want to Talk About It.